nation copes with disaster in Japan. As of Wednesday, March 16th, the official number of fatalities stood at 4,340 as fears grew for the fate of more than 9,000 listed as missing following the catastrophic 9.0 quake and resulting tsunamis that leveled entire towns to the ground. This is the highest number of natural disaster victims recorded in Japan since World War II and is still expected to rise to more than 10,000 dead, with Mayor Kameyama Hiroshi of Ishinomaki reporting that 10,000 people remain missing in his coastal city alone. With the combined efforts of the Self-Defense Force, Coast Guard, police, and firefighters, resulting in 25,460 people being rescued, efforts continued to save an estimated 23,300 still stranded, some on islets near the coast.
Continued tremors and debris hampered search and rescue operations as more than 200 aftershocks of magnitude 5.0 or higher struck the Pacific coast of northeast and central Japan since Friday.
In a rare televised speech addressing the nation on Wednesday, His Imperial Majesty Emperor Akihito expressed his deep worries about the nuclear crisis and said Japan's earthquake disaster was unprecedented in scale. He also encouraged resiliency in the nation's people as he said,
"It is important that each of us shares the difficult days that lie ahead. I pray that we will all take care of each other and overcome this tragedy." He went on to address the nuclear crisis, saying, "With the help of those involved, I hope things will not get worse."
With more than 440,000 people in northeastern and central prefectures taking refuge at 2,400 shelters, some of which have yet to receive essential supplies, relief efforts have been further hindered by a lack of fuel for trucks and ambulances. Many people are without food, water, heating fuel, or other basic necessities, including medical care, with darkness falling quickly at night because there is not enough energy to use. Adding to the woes of survivors already fatigued both mentally and physically is a cold snap that caused temperatures to drop to below freezing on Wednesday morning after snows began on Tuesday night. This winter-like weather, which is forecast to continue into Friday, makes it even more difficult for rescue efforts and further dampens hopes of finding survivors, while also causing health problems, especially for the vulnerable.
Adding to the major trauma of survivors is the ongoing nuclear crisis. As winds blew a cloud of nuclear radiation toward Tokyo, where the radiation levels rose up to 110 times normal levels on Tuesday, although not yet a threat to human health, residents ran to buy face masks and emergency supplies, with others rushing to depart via planes and bullet train. In addition, people have been coming to testing centers to see if they have radiation poisoning, with many relieved to learn that they do not.
On Tuesday evening, a maximum radiation level of 0.33 millisieverts per hour was registered outside the 20-kilometer radius around the Fukushima Daiichi plant that has already been evacuated, an amount equivalent to receiving 3 chest X-rays per hour, but the Japanese government said there is no immediate health threat. As radiation levels rise in Tokyo, however, the anxious public has begun to doubt government and company assurances.
Many foreign governments have advised their nationals to leave due to the power plant problems, with embassies of Iraq, Bahrain, Angola, Panama, and Austria temporarily closing or relocating away from Tokyo. The British Foreign Office also recommended that citizens in and north of Tokyo leave the area, while the U.S. Embassy in Tokyo similarly advised Americans within 80 kilometers of the Fukushima plant to move away or stay indoors.
This is a much wider area than set by the Japanese government. Likewise, in Paris, the French government asked Air France to put its Asia-Pacific services on standby, with 2 planes evacuating its nationals from Tokyo's Narita International Airport to southern Japan or out of the country. French Energy Minister Eric Besson also stated that France, 80% of whose energy comes from nuclear, will from now on only sell next-generation nuclear reactors which can resist major shocks like earthquakes. The European Commission has meanwhile suggested that European Union governments check all food exports from Japan for possible contamination from radiation, with similar measures being made in India and Thailand. Officials are saying that radiation is leaking from several of the Fukushima nuclear plant's badly damaged reactors, including number 2, whose containment vessel may have been breached, number 3, which risks exposing dangerous plutonium, and number 4, which sustained the worst damage.
Following a fire and then a blast on Tuesday in the Fukushima plant's number 4 reactor that left an 8-meter hole in one of the walls, a second fire at the same reactor on Wednesday released a plume of radiation that was detected as far away as Tokyo, 240 kilometers to the south.
With radiation levels at the Fukushima plant increasing beyond levels deemed safe, Chief Cabinet Secretary Yukio Odano on Wednesday ordered the evacuation of all workers, who returned later that day after radiation levels were declared safe again. The radiation spike incident also brought a further exodus of people from the area. Gregory Yazko, chairman of the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, testified before Congress on Wednesday that all the water in the spent fuel pool at the number 4 reactor is thought to have boiled dry, exposing the fuel rods and leading to extremely high radiation levels that could affect the ability to take corrective measures. U.S. Institute for Policy Studies senior scholar and former U.S. Energy Department official Robert Alvarez further explained that voluntary heroic acts from nuclear workers may be needed, stating, "This is a situation where people may be called in to sacrifice their lives."
Meanwhile, officials in Ibaraki Prefecture, just south of Fukushima, said radiation levels were about 300 times normal levels by late morning. That afternoon, plant officials also warned that an estimated 70% of the nuclear fuel rods at the number 1 reactor had been damaged, and 33% at the number 2 reactor.
On Wednesday, European Union Energy Commissioner Günther Oettinger told a European Parliament committee that the situation at the plant was effectively out of control, warning of more catastrophe that could threaten lives in Japan. At number 3 reactor, high radiation levels are coming from the plutonium fuel rods, which are much more harmful than the plant's other uranium-fueled reactors. Although the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA, said no plutonium release had been observed as of yet, if absorbed into the body, it can remain in bone marrow or the liver for years and cause cancer. On Thursday, water was dropped via helicopter at number 3 reactor after a previous attempt on Wednesday was cancelled, as police used water spray vehicles to cool down number 4.
In addition, South Korea's government said it would transfer its reserves of boron to help Japan stabilize the quake-damaged nuclear reactors. The U.S. government has just sent 40 additional experts to measure radioactivity and provide other support for the nuclear crisis, while IAEA's Director General Yukiya Amano, who has urged the Japanese government to provide better information about the nuclear crisis, also arrived in Japan to be able to have first-hand knowledge of what he called a very serious situation.
Meanwhile, upon the request of French Finance Minister Christine Lagarde, a group of 7 meeting was scheduled for finance ministers and central bankers to discuss the economic impacts of the recent disaster. With her heartfelt gratitude for the international aid, Supreme Master Ching Hai had immediately pledged a $20,000 donation following the disasters, conveying her love and sorrowful prayers as she asked that our association members go bring comfort and aid to the most in need. Our association's relief teams from Japan and Formosa, Taiwan, have formed 2 units, with one assessing needs at the hard-hit Iwate Prefecture since Wednesday, while a second unit is gathering supplies and joining the first on Friday.
Our thankfulness for the caring initiatives of all governments, organizations, and individuals around the world, as we also thank Supreme Master Ching Hai for her compassionate support for the Japanese people. With deep condolences for the lives lost, we pray for the nation's resiliency, and that such devastations may be curbed by humanity's more considerate, meritorious ways.
유리자 뭐元気だよ